And happy Thursday to all of us, right? Happy weekend eve. Thank you for joining us for today's Strengthening Families Networking call. Today we're focusing on a new book club guide called Journey to Resilience from Trauma to Healing, based on the book What Happened to You by Perry and Oprah Winfrey. This guide was developed through the Children's Trust Fund Alliance, and our speakers from the Alliance will discuss how they developed the guide, how protective factors can be supported and built through book club, and hopefully they're going to share with us their brush with celebrities through this process. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I am Maureen Hulliker from the Children's Trust Fund Alliance. And if you're joining us for the first time, let me just tell you a little bit more about the Strengthening Families webinars. These are an open invitation to anyone who is using the Protective Factors framework and coordinating Strengthening Families efforts in their communities and states, and really open to anyone who is working with children and families. These calls are jointly convened by the Center of the Study of Social Policy, always a mouthful for me, sorry, CSSP, and the Children's Trust Fund Alliance. Topic and guest speakers are also coordinated by CSSP and the Alliance, and volunteers and suggestions from all of you are always welcome. The recordings and materials from this webinar and from past webinars are posted at this link, and I believe Kaylin will throw that in the chat box for us. This is housed on a Children's Trust Fund Alliance archive site, and you will find, I believe, probably 12 years of calls in the past on there. So feel free to check that out, and you'll find the videos and materials. So just so you know, we have webinars on the second Thursday of each month at this time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. We will not have a webinar in July, so happy summer to all of you. And but look for a webinar coming up on August 11th, September 8th, October 13th. And the topics will be announced and registration will be open closer to the date. If you have a topic that you would like to share or a speaker to recommend, please contact Kaylin at the email address provided. So today's agenda includes a presentation from the Children's Trust Fund Alliance on building your protective factors with book club. And we will also give updates from CSSP and the Alliance. I believe we will be together for about an hour. Occasionally updates run over a little bit, so if you have to leave, we understand. Otherwise, just stick around and we'll do our updates, and those will be part of our recorded call. So I am very fortunate to work with an amazing group of humans at the Children's Trust Fund Alliance, and I'm going to introduce two of them to you today. Kara Georgi, who is a Parent Partnership Associate, and Corrion, who is an Administrative Assistant with the Alliance. They are both also Alliance Certified Trainers in the Protective Factors. And they are going to tell us all about this book guide that they developed, how it came to be, and how we can use it. So welcome, Kara and Chloe.
Thank you so much for having us today, Maureen. And I'm so excited to be with you here all today and to share with you this new resource that the Alliance has created that really allows readers to talk about their life experiences while reading What Happened to You by Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. And next slide, please. And so today we're going to be telling you a little bit about the guide and what is exactly in it. And so we really wanted to make this guide as adaptable as possible. So when you're reading it, not only will you be able to use it individually, but also in small and large groups. So the resource includes chapter summaries, discussion questions, reflection journals, and also coloring pages. So diving a little deeper into our guide.
Sorry, Chloe. I'm wondering how many people today are familiar with our guide too. So let's check that out before you dive in deeper into that. So I'm going to launch today's poll and see how many people have heard about this guide. If you want to take a moment, let us know. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, maybe it's your first time, or maybe you're unsure, like maybe you've heard something about it, but you can't really remember. And we can drop a link to the guide in the links for you right in the chat. So
it sounds like we might have lost Kara. Can you try speaking again, Kara?
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll give you a minute to go ahead and answer that poll. And I'm going to ask Kaylin if you wouldn't mind sharing the results, and I'm going to switch to phone.
Sorry, happy to do that. And so we can see on the results that most people on the call today are not familiar or hadn't heard of it before. So lots of learning to come today. Just 8 people had already heard about it and 4 who were unsure.
And that's great. So we're going to give you a little bit more information about what is in this guide. So this book has 10 chapters and a synopsis. So each chapter includes a little introduction to the chapter and what's included. So if you are doing a book club and you've got people who are coming but don't necessarily have the time to read the chapter every week, that's okay. They can still feel included. So there's a little bit of a description of what happened in their chapter. There's also resources to support the information, some from the Alliance and some from other organizations that can help support you through the book. Each chapter has questions for discussion, and the way we've done those is we've kind of broken them down into 3 different categories. So each section has a breakout of icebreaker questions, diving deeper questions, and reflection questions. So that really allows for participants who are partaking in a book club to really dive deep or stay in kind of more of a comfortable level, depending on how much information people are wanting to give. We also have a little section for notes in there, so readers can take notes as they go. And we know this book is quite heavy. It's about trauma and how you handle that. And so each week we shared a quote as we were doing this book club, as we closed each week, to kind of instill a little bit of hope as they left. So each week also has a quote.
Thanks, Chloe.
Okay, I think you were on sound both ways, but now we can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and no echo.
Awesome. Perfect. The joys of technology when you're working remotely. So one of the things that I appreciate about book club is as we went through and we thought about having a quote to inspire hope, one of the other pieces that I found really important as a parent is really understanding what my protective factors are and what they even are to begin with. And so one of the things is Chloe and I approached creating this book club guide for parents. We wanted to make sure that we drew attention to protective factors, really made them a part of our everyday conversations that we had in our book club sessions, and gave opportunities to highlight and elevate and intentionally point out where some of those protective factors were and how they were making a difference in the lives for them as parents. And so one of the things that you'll see as you go through the book club guide is this real intentional shift of parenting's hard. And it's very easy to fall into judgment of yourself, judgment of why am I not doing that better or why am I not doing this right? But having the protective factors to go back to and say, you know what, this was a time that was really hard for my child to express themselves. And I had to take some time to learn some new strategies to figure out how to help them express themselves. And then pointing out how that ties into their social and emotional development, how it ties into our knowledge of parenting and child development, really gave us a great foundation to make sure that this book was going to be something that would be more than just a read, but something that could almost become like a parenting how-to. And so you'll see as we dove into this on our next slide, we talked about how we really wanted to make protective factors actionable. And so what we really wanted to do was kind of on this slide, you'll see how we wanted to have a foundation of knowing that we were talking about trauma and trauma is hard. And we wanted to be able to move from that. We also wanted to really make sure that as we talked about action steps or resources that we pointed out to what are some concrete resources for protective factors. Many of those are Alliance website resources, and I know in the chat there was a question about, is this available in Spanish? It's not yet, but some of the resources that we do point the parents to are in Spanish. So I encourage you to check out those. And it's been really important as we've been looking at those resources to really call out protective factors and the power that they can have when parents are experiencing trauma, adversity, or challenges with their children. The other piece that we really wanted to take away, as you see the little paintbrush there with the moving to action, is this ribbon of hope and how even though you might be in a spot where you feel like there isn't hope, or where you're just going through some really tough stuff as a parent, we wanted the parents to really feel like there was a space for them to take a breath, a spot for them where they could share what they were going through and heal from that, and really kind of improve from where they're living and experiencing life as parents. And what I think is so beautiful about this is as we did this work with the Georgia Parent Advisory Council, Chloe and I knew it was going to make a difference, but I don't think either of us realized the deep influence that it had until we took some time to really intentionally hear about that from some of the Georgia PAC parents. And so I'd like to have Kaylin play our video now of Erin Thomas, one of the Georgia PAC members, and let her share.
Is
Erin,
anyone having trouble?
Sorry. Is the sound
We
not?
can't hear it.
Oh, okay. I was about to type in like, someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. Let me stop sharing and try again, although I do think I have the sound thing selected, but I will try again. And this time it'll work. Let me just back it up. If I, hold on, I'll do that one more time. Okay. I want to hit play and then I'm gonna, people give me a thumbs up if you can hear it and I will rewind to where she started talking.
Because there was a broad.
Okay.
My name is Erin Thomas and I am a member of the Parent Advisory Council here in Georgia. When we first started the book club, I was a little bit apprehensive and I wasn't sure what to expect because there was a broad variety of people who joined us. And once I got to know each individual that was participating in the book club, I was able to kind of take off all of the hats that I wear and just be myself. I was able to start to bond with the other parents and really just start to become honest with myself about the things that were going on in my life. And by feeling safe in that space and becoming vulnerable, I was able to change some things about the way that I interacted with others, with the way that I interacted with my own family, and also with the way that I viewed myself and my past. There were some things in my past that I wasn't proud of and that I held a lot of guilt and shame for. But once I was able to really process through the book and go chapter by chapter with the other peers in my group, I was able to release some of that shame. I was able to accept some of the things that had happened. And most importantly for me, I was able to change the way it affected my future. So by having the chance to really get to know myself and get to know other parents in the group, I would say that, if someone else were encouraged to participate or had the opportunity to maybe start their own book club, I would say go for it. This has been one of the most impactful, one of the most memorable, one of the most transformative groups that I've been a part of. And having the privilege to get together with other people and to walk through this amazing book has really just been transformative. It's changed my life. It's changed the way that I interact with others. And it's just really changed the way that I see myself.
And to me, that's what strengthening families is all about. It's about changing how we see ourselves. It's about really helping parents to see themselves in that strengths-based way.
My name is Erin Thomas, and
I just hope that you heard a little bit from Erin about how powerful book club can be, and think about how this shaped not only things for her personally, but for her as a mom. But what was really cool is some of the extra pieces that were able to happen as we built this work out and we dreamed it bigger. So Chloe, tell them how we dreamed bigger.
So in our first book club meeting, I remember sitting there with all these parents for the first time in a book club setting. And we all were thinking how cool it would be to meet Oprah Winfrey herself. So we made it happen. We actually invited Oprah to come to our book club, and she did. She was able to come to our final book club meeting on December 15th. And it was such an amazing experience being able to, meet with Oprah and still have that book club feeling of being vulnerable and really opening up, and parents being able to share their lived experiences with her. And she also really participated and shared her thoughts about writing the book, incorporating the learnings into her own life. And the Georgia PAC members thanked Oprah for their meeting and for really writing the book. And something that really still sticks with me about that book club meeting was Oprah saying, "The fact that you are all here with the intention of growing into a better version of yourself by coming together in this community. I celebrate you all. I know how hard it is to continue to do the work on yourself." And it was just such an amazing experience. And really, that's what we're hoping to do with this book club, is to keep coming together in community and really continue healing together and talking about our lived experiences. And as if that wasn't enough, meeting Oprah, Dr. Perry actually was at the event where we released this guide. And that was an amazing experience as well. As you could see, he really became emotional hearing the parents and seeing all the work we've done to create this guide. And he said that it seriously made me tear up when I heard parents talk about how the book club experiences was so positive. So you should check out our guide, which again has been dropped in the chat.
Thanks, Chloe. And it's one of those things of, again, we knew we were doing something special. And I saw in the chat one of the questions of well, who was leading it? Was it a clinician or a therapist due to this sensitive nature of the subject? It wasn't. It was Chloe and myself leading this book club with the Georgia PAC parents. It's one of those things of when sometimes we find a great resource and we're like, ooh, we're going to get into everyone's hands. And it was shared with the Georgia PAC members, and we're like, let's take this on a journey. Let's help the Georgia PAC parents take time to process what is in this book, because it is a book that has sensitive content in it. And as I was thinking through it as a parent, and I was thinking about, oh my gosh, this is bringing up stuff that's hard. That's I don't know if I'm ready to approach it. This is where, to be honest, I fell back on the strengthening families piece. And so you'll see on our next slide how, as we went through this content, it was not only a journey through the book, it was a journey through our own stuff. It was looking at really what happened to us? What are some of those things that we experienced, and how do we process through those? And so it was just an incredible opportunity to really grow. And I think one of the things is Chloe shared about Oprah, when she shared about the strength that comes from when you really process what happened to you and how that can become your power. It was a powerful moment for those parents. It was a powerful moment for all of us. And for me, it was not just thinking about that, but it was also thinking about how do we process this more than just in this space. And so that's why, as Chloe shared, there's journal pages for the parents to have a space to reflect and write down some of their thoughts. We also, as we built it out, we're like, we need coloring pages. And so this is a sample of one of those coloring pages that's included in the guide, because sometimes we need hopeful messages that we can color as we're trying to think through all of what is coming up as we read this book, as we try to remember and kind of hold on to that hope. And our hope is that the coloring pages are something that can really uplift people as they go through reading and processing some of what has happened to them. And I think what is the most powerful is, as you think about things on the next slide, it's about the messages, right? It's about what is really truly coming out to the families. It's talking to families about how our earliest experiences shape our lives. And what I appreciate about this book is it doesn't tell us that, like, you have to be a perfect parent. You have to get it right from day one. It lets you know that things do happen, and those experiences do shape us. And there are opportunities for us to grow, to heal, to process those things together. I think about that even more now with what's going on in the current world. We need places like this where we have spaces to talk about what has happened to us. We need that ability to take a pause. I think of some of the parents who joined the call. We shared some of the highest of highs, like celebrating a parent becoming pregnant and sharing the news with us during book club night. But then her rereading this book as she anticipated the arrival of her little one, and her now seeing this book in a new light of a parenting how-to book. To parents really having a spot where they talked about some of the hardest traumas they've gone through, really having a spot where there were moments where we did cry. It wasn't all laughter and fun. There were moments where we really bonded. But what I think is the most important thing to know is that it was all through social connections, positive social connections, where you didn't have to wipe away the tears and act like you were tough. You literally were able to just be who you were. It also was really teaching all of us that we truly matter and are worthy. We're important. And so that's why that is one of the messages we really hope kind of gets taken away from book club. Also, the idea about turning your trauma into power. Trauma doesn't have to define you. And I feel like so often we feel like it does. It limits us, or it puts us in boxes. We hope that people, after reading this book and learning about the brain science, reading some of the personal stories that Oprah shares. For some, I encourage you, if you haven't listened to the Audible version, I encourage you to listen to it. It's Oprah and Dr. Perry reading it. It's a different experience, and we encourage some of the parents to do that as we went through the book. I was also thinking about how healing takes time. You can't read a book like this and say, yep, I'm healed, I'm ready to go on to the world. Healing takes time, and for some it takes years. For some, it's a short period of time. There's no definite, this is what it needs to be, but what it does need is community, and it does need support. It does need the importance of the protective factors being there to help encourage and be there to as a solid foundation for families to go to. And what I loved the most about book club is that as Chloe and I built it out, we wanted it to be something that you all could take a first step. And maybe that first step for you today is just to check it out. Maybe that first step for you today is to print out one of the coloring pages and just start coloring it because it looks fun. Maybe a first step is thinking about how might you use this with the communities that you're working with. I can tell you so many stories of all the different people that have had the opportunity to start interacting with Chloe and I about this. But the biggest thing that Chloe and I feel is important is to recognize that this is an experience. And so when we were planning out how to share this with you all today, we wanted to take the opportunity to give you a moment to step into breakouts. And so what I'd like you to do is, on the next slide you'll see, we have 2 questions we want you to be thinking about in these breakouts. And of course, you might not have answers right away, but I'd love for you to just start thinking and brainstorming. And the reason this is so important is because this is how Chloe and I started. I had known that the Georgia PAC members got this book. Chloe had randomly picked up this book at a very special moment in her life. She said, Kara, how do we make this happen? And we had a conversation, and look at what it sparked. It sparked a book club with an amazing group of parents. It created a guide that Chloe and I never imagined would be as big as it is today. We got to meet Oprah, you all. Come on, it's huge. And that's all because of a conversation. So if our conversation could spark that, imagine what your conversations today could spark. And so I would like you to go into your breakouts today and think about these two questions. How do you feel about this book club experience? And like, how could it be used in your community? Where are places it could be helpful? Would it be helpful in the schools? Is there a community center? Is there some group that you're connected with? To be honest, we've even heard stories of people using it personally. A brother and sister are going through our guide together. So think about that. No opportunity is the wrong one. Lots of ideas. Then thinking about what are the resources and support that you might need to make it happen. I think about how some of you already in the chat have said, basically, we need it in another language. We need it in at least Spanish. And so thinking about things like that as well, of what are those resources that we need? And so I'm going to give you some time to go into those breakouts. Kaylin is going to get those set up. The book itself also is not available in Spanish yet, Maria, but it would be a great one to have in a trauma-informed class. I know. Don't you wish, like, great things, they should automatically just be in multiple languages? Totally feel you on that. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes or so to go into breakouts, have an opportunity to talk and connect. And then Chloe and I encourage you to stay on because we have a few more things that we want to be able to share with you all about upcoming opportunities for you all, if this is something you're interested in. So I see LaCrisha put those questions in the chat, so they'll follow you to breakouts. And Kaylin, how are we looking for our breakout rooms? My favorite part coming back from breakouts is you all are on camera, and I get to see you now. That's awesome. And because it's truly about the connections with each other, right? Like, there's nothing better than connecting with others who have great thoughts about communities and building strong families. So awesome. It is great to see you. It's great to see little people too. So I hope you all had a chance to have lots of conversation about how you might use this book club or some of the resources. And I encourage you, if there's anything that's top of mind, drop it in the chat. But I am going to ask Kaylin if she wouldn't mind firing up our second poll for us. So that way we can ask you this next poll question that ties in with some of those supports. What additional information would help you in doing a book club? Would it help if you learned a little bit more about how Chloe and I facilitated and have like a facilitator training? Maybe it'd be helpful for more information. Would you like to see more coloring pages? Maybe you want to see it be printer friendly, because if you've noticed, it is a lot of pages if you start downloading it. And I heard some of you already have. Maybe it's an opportunity to connect with others who are doing book clubs so you can brainstorm together, because one thing we know, it's important to be connected in a network and a community. Maybe there's other things. So I encourage you, you can click as many of these as you think would be helpful and submit your thoughts. And we'll give that a couple minutes and let that come in, and then we'll have Kaylin share the results when it looks like we have most everybody's thoughts in. But one of the reasons why Chloe and I added this poll question in is because we want to keep dreaming up bigger for this, of how do we build out this resource for communities? How do we make sure that it's available? And so look at that. People are like, let's bring on some facilitator training. Let's make sure it's printer friendly. Absolutely, because we've been talking about how people might go to the libraries to download this. Opportunity to connect with others. You will have lots of great thoughts. Come on. All right, now you need to share with me in the chat, because somebody put other. I want to know, what is that other? What else are you thinking about? Or are you just like, ooh, let's click other, because the sky's the limit, right? We got Oprah, so there is no stopping what we can dream up. And so what I encourage you to do, oh, I like this. Christina said, talking about marketing to parents to get them engaged and wanting to come. Absolutely. help encourage the parents to want to be a part of it. When I first started with Strengthening Families and Protective Factors, I'll be honest, Protective Factors was the thing I was scared to talk about as a mom. I didn't feel like I understood it. But once I did, now it's the thing that if you ask Kaylin or Maureen, who know me quite well, I am the girl who will mention Protective Factors in any and every conversation, probably without a doubt. So that is the power of when you really help families to understand, what does it mean? Well, here's the good news. All those things that you're like, let's see if we can make it happen. Check out this next slide. Chloe and I want to hear from you if you are hosting a book club, because we are going to have some opportunities for connections. Ooh, I love this about schools. Schools is my heart passion, so I totally feel you. Translations, totally understand it's critical. Totally will try to figure out how we might make that possible. And absolutely connecting with others. That's why if you decide you want to do a book club, please, please, please let Chloe and I know by clicking on this very short form. Let us know that you are thinking about hosting a book club. What is kind of your background of who it is you're thinking of doing that with, because we're going to have some opportunities to connect. But remember how we said we like to dream big and how we thought we were big when we hit Oprah and we got Dr. Perry? It got bigger. We have an amazing opportunity with Paces Connection, where they have reached out to us, heard about the wonderful work that we're doing, and we have not just one opportunity, but multiple opportunities. Look at all these links, you all. It could barely fit on a whole slide. There are so many opportunities. Dr. Perry is going to kick off the whole thing with us, having an awesome event later this month. You don't want to miss it. Then we're going to take you on an opportunity to hear about not only what we did with our guide, but also what Georgia Reads did. Georgia's estate did something with this. Totally an awesome resource. We'll be doing that. But remember how we asked you what additional support you wanted? Guess what? One of those additional supports is a facilitator training, and we're going to be doing that through the Paces Connection. There you go. There's your opportunity. So I encourage you, check out these links. Join us in this wonderful journey that we're going to be on with Paces Connection. It is a huge opportunity for us to be able to work with you all, sharing some more facilitator information, sharing and connecting with others who are hosting book clubs, talking about the successes, talking about the challenges, celebrating together, but most importantly, being together in community, talking about how do we build strong communities through Protective Factors. So lots of events, tons of amazing information. I encourage you, check that out. The biggest thing, we will be sharing a flyer with you all with those links to be able to register for those events. Great question. So there will be that opportunity. And here's the other awesome opportunity. Maureen is also going to be helping us with sharing about the Protective Factors to really make sure for communities that maybe aren't familiar that we can promote that. So many great things, so many opportunities for collaboration, because one thing I know about the Strengthening Families Network is that we know that partnership and collaboration is what it's all about. And so here is just one example of the magic that can happen when that comes together. But Chloe and I thank you for joining us today. We thank you for hearing about our book club, and we encourage you to reach out to us. You'll see our contact information. If you have questions or there's other follow-up, we would be happy to talk with you. And it would be wonderful to be able to kind of keep building this work out together and dreaming bigger for what could be for communities and how we can have these really hard conversations in a space that's safe, comfortable, and most importantly, encourages us all to really explore how do we respond differently. So thank you for this time. And Kaylin, I can't wait to hear what comes next from this awesome and incredible group of people from the network. And thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Kara and Chloe. This was great content, great engagement. Thanks everyone for participating in the breakout groups. Hope you had good conversations there. And really excited that this is available for everyone to use. Lots of good ideas people have about sharing it. So I'm going to share some updates from CSSP and then hand back off to Maureen for updates from the Alliance. I will share a few things. We've been talking on this webinar series about our perspectives on early relational health video series. We now have discussion guides available for each of those videos. So that that was an idea that came out of this group when we presented the videos and the concept on an earlier Strengthening Families webinar. I think maybe it was February of this year. Folks expressed an interest in having some questions to guide a conversation, whether that's at a staff meeting or with a group of parents, in supervision, between a supervisor and staff member. But ways to watch these videos, which are each about 20 minutes long, and then have some questions to pick and choose from to prompt a discussion. So I hope you'll check those out. We also, if you go to CSSP's website, we have a blog post that came out today about those discussion guides. So check that out. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the chat as soon as I'm done talking, because it's a lot. So just a reminder of who's in those videos and what they're each about really the principles and framework of early relational health, the paradigm shift in pediatrics away from focusing on toxic stress and more into relational health as a form of prevention and intervention, the foundations of emotional connection, and then the most recent one is about parent and provider relationships that are grounded in early relational health, and that focuses on a resiliency clinic at UCSF's Children's Hospital. And it does feature a parent whose children are patients at that outpatient clinic and have been in the hospital there as well. So he shares his experiences. So I hope you'll all check those out and use the discussion guides and let me know how it goes. CSSP is hiring a few key positions right now: a director for the Young Children and Families team, a senior program analyst, and a communications coordinator. So if you or anyone you know might be interested in those positions, please check out our job opportunities page on our website. We're always excited to bring people in who are already familiar with Strengthening Families and a lot of our other work. So I personally am always cheering for people from this network to apply for jobs with CSSP. The Together for Families conference is coming up in October, and early bird registration is open now through July 31st. So if you've got fiscal year ending maybe June 30th and it's time to spend some of those dollars, go ahead and register. It's a virtual conference, so the registration fee is your only cost, and we really hope that you will join us. We had a kickoff event in May where everyone submitted songs, and then we now have a conference playlist going. It's hopping. You guys got to get connected, and we hope that we will see you all at the Together for Families conference in October virtually. And I wanted to share that season 2 of The New Neighborhood is out. This is our podcast about local early childhood work that's really trying to make communities very supportive places for families with young children. I am really excited that I'm co-hosting the podcast this season with a parent leader named Sanaa Sharif. She and I took it over from Joan Lombardi, who started it last year. So the first episode for season 2 came out yesterday, and there will be new episodes every 2 weeks throughout the summer. It's a 6-episode series. The first one is really just getting to know me and Sanaa and why we do this work and why we're excited about it and why we're co-hosting the podcast. So I hope you will listen in. You'll hear a few references to Strengthening Families if you do, because it's me. So with that, I did want to say Maureen Durning is going to add some information in the chat about an upcoming training that for Strong, another opportunity for some training on protective factors. So I just wanted to make sure you all see that in the chat, and I will hand off to Maureen Holliker for updates from the Alliance.
Great, thanks, Kaylin. Great information from everyone there. So if you want to advance it, for those of you that may be interested in becoming an Alliance certified trainer in the protective factors framework, we have a Alliance hosted training of trainers coming up August 22nd to the 25th. My colleague Lucretia is putting all of the links in the chat for me. We have over 1,700 Alliance certified trainers across the country so far. So it is a great network to join. If you are interested or have a colleague that may be interested, please pass that information on. With our next slide, it is, this is the Children's Trust Fund Birth Parent National Network, and it's holding its 8th annual virtual convening Thursday, June 23rd. The topic is racism and anti-racism in the social ecology with speakers from CSSP. Dr. Charlene Harper Brown and our very own Caitlin O'Connor. And so we also will put that flyer and the registration in the chat box, but that's coming up quickly, and that is one definitely not to be missed. The next slide is talking about the PACES connection, which Kara and Chloe mentioned. So connecting communities one book at a time. This is what the flyer looks like front and back. And then there is a link to jump on to register for all of these events, which will be fantastic. I also wanted to share with you all that last week on May 31st, was that last week or the week before? I don't know. There was a press panel held that was really used to better frame stories about how child welfare and child protection should be looked at through a pro-family lens. And our parents from the ANPPC, the Alliance National Parent Partnership, shared their lived experience and stories. And I really highly recommend that you go on and listen to this press panel. I thought it was fantastic. And the conversation about what many thought were going to be an increase in child abuse stories over the pandemic. We have parents really sharing powerful stories about how concrete supports really brought their families closer together and became stronger. So I really encourage you to listen to that recording of the press panel. And with that, I will throw it back to you, Kaylin, and maybe if anyone has any additional questions for our guest speakers or for Kaylin or I.
Yeah, we actually ended a few minutes early. So I will open up the floor for questions. I took down the screen so we can all see each other, those who have cameras on. And I know that Maureen Durning, you just put information in the chat, but if you want to say a minute about the training that you have coming up, you'd be welcome to.
Oh, sure. Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Kaylin. Yes, we did our first virtual Train the Trainer of our book. Our book is called Strong: Teaching the Strengthening Families Protective Factor Framework to Parents and Professionals. 50 lesson plans that are well written, interactive, easy to follow, that can be used in any sort of, with parent groups or with staff development or any place else you want to use them, at conferences or whatever. So we're having another Train the Trainer event. I put our website, it's my company is called Butterfly Trainings That Transform. It's butterflyttt.com. And there's information on the website about how you could get involved in our virtual Train the Training, which will be in September. It's going to be 4 days, Monday, Wednesday of two weeks in a row, so that you get a chance to breathe in between. So thanks, Kaylin.
Great. Thank you, Maureen. And another thing that I didn't do because I didn't know if we'd have time was we do have a 1-minute promo clip for the New Neighborhood web podcast, which I can play unless anyone is burning with a question they want to ask. Nobody looks like they're jumping in with a question, so I will play this just for fun. I think it should work. Share sound. Here we go.
All across the country, people who care about kids are coming together to reimagine how their communities can support families with young children so that all kids are thriving, healthy, and ready for school.
It's not just about preschool, even though that's an important piece of it. It's about all of the ways that communities can make it easier for parents to raise kids, and it's about paying attention to the families and communities that haven't been served well by early childhood systems.
The New Neighborhood is a podcast from the Center for the Study of Social Policy, where we interview some of these change makers about what they're doing, what drives them to do it, and how it's helping children and families. Season 2 will be out soon, hosted by me, Sanaa Sharif,
and me, Kaylin O'Connor. While you're waiting for the new episodes to drop, check out Season 1 of The New Neighborhood wherever you get your podcasts. So that was fun. And then the new episode did come out yesterday, so please check that out wherever you get your podcasts, which is a lifelong dream to say that. Okay, anyone else have questions or comments before we leave? All right. Thank you all so much for joining us and for engaging in the discussion. And again, many thanks to Kara and Chloe for all your work on this and for sharing it today. And thanks, Maureen, my co-host, for stepping in as MC, even through some internet and power challenges. So wonderful to have you all here, and we will talk again in August. Thanks, everybody.